It's been more than 3 years since the Bring Back Our Girls campaign first captured the world's attention. In April 2014, Boko Haram abducted 276 schoolgirls in Nigeria's Borno state. Some have escaped, and the Nigerian government has helped secure the release of 100 girls, but more than 100 remain missing. Activists and lawmakers gathered here in Washington, D.C. on Friday, calling for greater efforts to find them. Africa 54's Hayde Fitzpatrick reports.
The gathering was a reminder to America and the world that there is unfinished business in Africa. The 113 schoolgirls still held by the terrorist group Boko Haram. The Chibok girls have a tireless champion on Capitol Hill, a Florida congresswoman pushing lawmakers to help finish the job.
I have passed resolutions. I have legislation that I still have to pass. But I will continue to fight and bully everybody I can to make them pass it. Because these are children who didn't deserve this. And they are strong young girls. I have met them. And it is phenomenal, the strength and the power these girls emit.
The screening of a short film, Waiting for Hassana, a survivor's harrowing account of the night Boko Haram raided school dormitories and loaded girls onto trucks in the town of Chibok. Filmmaker Ifunanya Maduka hopes to keep their story in the world's collective memory. Perhaps the most pointed remarks came from Nigeria's former Minister of Education, who said there has been too much focus on the story behind the girls' abduction and not enough on their safety. As she put it, the world's shared humanity was on trial and the world failed.
Don't let this be an episodic event. How does the world keep up with the hypocrisy of asking girls and women to go to school when the ones that went to school, 113 of them, are still in the grips of those that took them away from the schoolroom? It is so unjust.
Nigerians in the diaspora ask about progress in the investigation and whether authorities in Abuja and Washington are doing enough. Gregory Simpkins from the House Subcommittee on Africa believes a strong counter-terrorism partnership between Nigeria and the U.S. could be instrumental to finding the missing girls and bringing Boko Haram to justice.
We are trying to work with the government, the Defense Ministry, on military cooperation, where we're now training counterterrorism units in Nigeria to fight Boko Haram. But we want to make sure that human rights are observed. It's been a problem. And so they're supposed to send a delegation here in the next few weeks. They're very interested in coming to talk to our Congress, and I think that will be very useful.
Activists and lawmakers here resolving to keep the drumbeat alive until every Chibok girl is rescued and brought home. Hayde Fitzpatrick, VOA News, Washington.
Now, some of the Nigerian girls who were released after being abducted from the town of Chibok in 2014 by the extremist group Boko Haram are returning to school after years of recovery. VOA's Salem Solomon reports.
More than 100 Chibok girls released by Boko Haram militants have begun a new phase of their lives, taking classes at the American University of Nigeria after months of rest and recovery under the care of the Nigerian government. Nigeria's Minister of Women's Affairs and Social Development, Aisha Jumai Al-Hassan, says the girls had to go through a recovery program first.
We cannot bring back the 3 years. Okay, we cannot bring back the 3 years, but we'll make sure, by the grace of God, that they make up for what they have lost. And that is why we have all these programs that we have here. Apart from the number one thing is to keep them, to stabilize them medically and psychologically.
Al-Hassan said the girls will start remedial classes at AUN to prepare them for undergraduate studies in any field of their choice to be paid for by the federal government. AUN was already educating 24 girls who escaped Boko Haram shortly after the Islamist radical group kidnapped more than 250 students from a secondary school in the Borno state town of Chibok in April 2014. The abductions sparked worldwide outrage and a Bring Back Our Girls movement that gained supporters in the United States, including then First Lady Michelle Obama. The girls who entered the university this week spent 30 to 37 months in Boko Haram captivity before the militants released them following negotiations with the Nigerian government. U.S. Representative Frederica Wilson, Democrat of Florida, an early supporter of Bring Back Our Girls, met the girls in Abuja shortly before they left the city. She told VOA the former captives generally seemed to be in good shape, but this was after a long period of medical treatment and psychological therapy.
Can you imagine being held captive with terrorists, men who frighten you every single day for 3 years? When you are released, you are not normal. Your psychic is not too good. So they had to debrief them and help them.
Wilson endorsed the government's decision to keep the girls together in rehab instead of returning them to their homes.
Because these girls had been together so long, to separate them would have traumatized them, in my estimation. I think the decision they made to keep them together was the best thing they could have done.
More than 100 girls from Chibok remain in Boko Haram captivity 3.5 years after they were taken. Salem Solomon for Grace Abdu, VOA News.